The Mexican educational system consists of three levels: primary, secondary, and higher education. Within primary education, there is preschool, elementary, and lower secondary, which accounts for approximately 81% of the total amount of students receiving school services. Preschool is generally free for children ages 3 to 5, and upon completion, they receive a graduation document required to enter primary school. Primary school is a 6-year process that is mandatory, and lower secondary education is required for 3 years. Secondary education consists of 3 steps: general upper secondary, technical professional, and technological upper secondary education. Finally, higher education provides 4 options for everyone: university, technical institute, training teacher college, and technological university, where students can achieve a 4-year degree. The Secretary of Public Education, SCP, is the governing body in Mexico in charge of all educational standards and rules. They decide the academic year for all public and private incorporated schools, offering preschool, elementary, and secondary, and teacher education. Usually beginning the last week of August, there are 200 working days of classes, ending in the first week of July. In the year 2004, the national government administered almost $46 billion to education. 93% of primary education is provided by federal, state, and local governments, and only 7% is allotted to private schools. In 1993, the federal government was charged with the task of establishing study plans and programs for elementary, lower secondary, and teacher education for the entire country. Also, new constitutional amendments made it legal obligation for parents to send their children to elementary and lower secondary schools. States are given complete control for administering basic education, but in 1993 general education law, the federal government, through SCP, continues to oversee them. Social class divides the school system in Mexico. Children of wealthy families attend private schools, and poor families send their children to poorer schools. Private schools have plenty of resources for books and materials, while poor schools don't have a plethora of funds. The Secretary of Public Education has estimated school enrollment to be 92.08% for children ages 6 to 14 and only 46.68% for ages between 15 to 19. Many students choose to work over school because they need the income to maintain their survival. Even though there are difficulties, there has been a steady improvement in school attendance over the past 5 years. Today we see that more than 8 million children are enrolled in schools beyond the primary level, almost 2 million more than in 1994.
When it comes to the subject of teachers in Mexico, the problem is not within the teachers' salaries, but within the quality of the teacher. There is said to be a glaring need for good teachers. Mexico has been struggling since the 90s to find effective educators. Part of this is because the test given to required teachers in Mexico for certification requires only a low level of cognitive responses. In addition, the criteria of evaluation of a teacher is vague and manipulative. The hiring process is not rigorous, nor is it meaningful. Interviews would be considered informal by U.S. standards. Currently, there are Escuelas Normales Superiores, which offer licentiate degree programs for primary, secondary, special, and physical education. These also offer graduate and continuing education programs for teachers. By law, teachers in Mexico have to belong to the National Teachers Union. The leader of the union is Elba Esther Gordillo, who is among the most politically powerful women in Mexico. She has headed the union since 1989 and in 2011 was re-elected for more than 6 years. Overall, teaching in Mexico is seen as a respectable occupation in the workforce. The pay is still less than that of the United States, but average compared to other jobs in Mexico, and the work week is 38 hours on average. However, watch the following clip to get an idea of some real issues that teachers in Mexico have to deal with.
Terror has engulfed the schools in this Pacific Coast city. It follows widespread reports that criminal gangs have kidnapped at least 4 teachers in the last 2 weeks. Another 500 teachers say they're being told to turn over half their salaries, or they too will turn up missing. Many students are deeply worried.
I'm afraid because people say some students and teachers are disappearing. They tell us to be really careful when we come to school.
In the face of such threats, teachers from at least 80 schools have decided to stop working, just as the new school year is getting underway.
The educational life of Mexican students depends on the geographical area of the child. Generally, children are in school for 4 hours a day, while some urban students work in the morning and go to school in the late afternoon. Dropout rates are high in both rural and urban areas, but for different reasons. For students living in rural areas of Mexico, it is common to have to leave their communities after elementary school to attend a secondary school in a nearby town. The problem is that many families cannot afford to send their children away. Costs for these families include travel, textbooks, and uniforms, and if they cannot afford to pay for these, the student will be forced to drop out. Violence plays a bigger role in the dropout rates of Mexico City, an urban area of Mexico. According to UNICEF, before the age of 15, more than 1 of every 25 of the city's students has dropped out of school. Annalisa Bruzzati, UNICEF's Mexico City coordinator, says, here in Mexico City, specifically, violence has been identified as one of the main reasons why children are not attending school and why there is a high level of desertion, especially at the secondary school level. Teresa Kilbane, UNICEF Mexico Child Protection Officer, elaborates on this by stating, we know that a lot of children drop out of school because of poverty, because they have to work, but a significant number of drop out because of abusive teachers and abusive parents. The average Mexican school day is similar to the United States school day, as each morning students participate in patriotic exercises, including displaying the flag, singing the national anthem, and stressing values such as respect and conscientiousness. Students also receive a mid-morning break equivalent to the U.S.'s recess, where students can play outside and eat snacks. Students are given many opportunities to be social with one another as they engage in frequent group work involving lots of interaction and movement. Teachers also play a big role in students' lives, as parents usually assume that teachers will make the best decisions for their students. Mexican parents are not usually very involved in students' academics, and it is not normal for parents to intervene in school matters unless requested. Students are also expected to show great respect for their teachers.
Throughout Mexico, schools must follow specific curriculum set out by the national government. Each state provides children with basic education. This includes primary school, junior high school, and high school. Although the government gives primary school children free textbooks, once a student reaches secondary school, they are required to pay for their own. Primary school is considered grades 1 through 6. During this time, Spanish and mathematics are emphasized, and geology, ecology, and human health and sexuality are taught. Then, in the first 2 years of junior high school, geometry and algebra are integrated into mathematics, and in the final year of junior high school, trigonometry is the basis of math. In addition to these math courses, junior high school students are required to take a foreign language, science, art, and technology. Even though science and technology are required, it is difficult for children to get the full experience with the lack of laboratories and computers. The last part of basic education is high school, grades 10 through 12. By the end of high school, students must decide whether they will continue on to a college study, technical career, or business career. Basic education is important to people in Mexico. However, their school days are shorter than that of the United States. This is due to the fact that many children engage in work either in the morning or late afternoon. The emphasis that the Mexican people put on work is the main reason that many students do not continue on to higher education and instead join the workforce. Additionally, the classroom setting is more informal. Although the students are expected to treat their teachers with respect, students are given excessive time to work in groups and interact with their classmates. In order to ensure that the students are taking in all the material they have learned, each school gives out 5 examinations per year, followed by a national test at the end of the year. If a student does not score at least a 6 out of 10 on this final exam, they are not eligible to move on to the next grade level.
Global education is a human right and a human need. Education can help eliminate poverty and violence, both of which are very prevalent in Mexico. If more Mexicans had the opportunity to be fully educated, they would be able to obtain higher paying jobs and their children would not have to drop out of school to work to support their families. This project has made me very grateful for the quality of education I have experienced in the U.S., where I have never had to worry about poverty or violence keeping me from going to school.
Education is a form of learning in which knowledge and skills are passed down from generation to generation. This is not only done in a school setting, but through everyday life tasks. People all over the world should have the opportunity to gain this knowledge. In Mexico, not everyone learns the skills they need in school, but also by participating in the workforce at a young age. The knowledge that Mexican children learn both in a formal school setting and in the workforce will help them succeed in life. However, I feel that Mexico should try to imitate the United States school system more in order to make learning a greater priority for children.
Mexico's education is in fact a global need and right because it impacts the entire functioning of the country. All children should be educated to compete in the global market and make their country as strong as it can be. When comparing the United States to Mexico, We see how our government highly values education by providing loans to assist students with their education. We view education as a ticket to getting out of poverty, but at this point, Mexico's poverty is too cumbersome. It is sad to learn that countries do not value education as much as we do in the United States. I'm grateful for the opportunities that I've had, and I hope that in the future, stronger economies throughout the world will benefit everyone's future education.
Education is considered a global right and a global need because it is how societies ensure capable generations for their future success. I think that the United States captures this idea better than Mexico with our career-oriented educational goals. Mexico needs to model their higher education system like the United States in order to produce skilled workers for higher-paying jobs, consequently elevating the country out of poverty. This project has made me realize that my educational experience has been something that I need to value, because not everyone may be as lucky as I have been.